Welcome to this guide on research and narrowing topics in history. Let's talk about starting research. Brainstorming is a way to come up with topics or ideas. It allows a person to casually consider multiple topics, ideas, theories, etc. without judgment, and to take some ideas further into actual projects or tools to consider more topics, ideas, theories, etc. Sometimes it can help to talk to friends or classmates regarding the topic and ideas that you might have about how to approach researching your topic. Mind mapping is another great way to unpack ideas. A mind map is a visual representation of your issue or topic, similar to the one that is on the slide. It is a tool which is used to visualize ideas and opportunities for broadening or narrowing down search topics. I recommend doing a simple Google search to find some additional ideas of how to use mind mapping if that is a method that appeals to you. If you are researching a topic that is relatively new to you, I recommend using search engines and channels on YouTube such as Crash Course History to get a background on the topic. Crash Course videos are short and they give good starter material in short videos. Crash Course is not the only channel, but when you search Crash Course and your topic, other channels will appear in the search results. You may also consult Wikipedia, but you cannot cite anything on Wikipedia or anything that you get off of YouTube in any of your assignments. These are just merely a way to conduct some starter research. So let's talk about research questions. A research question is the question that is answered by your research. So when you're developing one, you want to ask yourself, what do you want to know about the topic? When doing research, you want to address your topics as a question for which there is no immediate answer. When you need to develop research questions, you'll want to ask yourself, what do you want to know about the topic? Additionally, you'll want to determine who, what, when, where, and why. These 5 W's will help you to ask the kinds of questions that allow you to conduct research, construct context, and develop a narrative. When you move through the research process, you'll want to narrow your questions to a manageable period of time relative to the size of your paper. You can narrow the topic by focusing on a particular aspect or by focusing on the motives of a key player in the event. Keep in mind that it is very common to start off with a few research questions that end up changing a bit as you move through your research and gain more knowledge on the topic. So let's talk about narrowing and broadening topics. Think of research questions like your GPS in research. You need to make sure that you are asking good and targeted questions. If you ask questions that are too vague or too narrow, you will have trouble getting the research that you need to complete your assignments. For example, asking a broad question like, why did the United States bomb Japan during World War II? It'll yield too many results. Conversely, asking questions that are too complex will also cause hiccups when you're trying to do your research. The goal is to ask questions that have a good balance between complexity and directness. Better research questions in these examples might be, what events led to the U.S. bombings of Japan? Or, why did Thomas Jefferson help Lafayette draft speeches during the French Revolution? Remember that you can have more than one question and use a combination of questions to lead you to your research. Again, think of research questions as your GPS system for conducting research. Each question will lead you closer or farther from your target. Be sure to do your research based on what you gathered from the research starter activities and not from an idea or a memory of the event. Sometimes we may have been previously exposed to tainted sources of info, which may lead us with an unfounded understanding of how an event played out. So here's some examples of past research questions. Each of these is concise and can be used together to conduct research for a paper that would detail the effects of the U.S. atomic bomb drop in Japan during World War II. How did the Japanese deal with the effects of radiation from the bombings on Hiroshima and Nagasaki? How were relations between the U.S. and Japan after the World War II bombings? Are the Japanese still dealing with the radiation effects from the World War II bombings? Were the bombings in Japan retaliation for the attack on Pearl Harbor? The key to good research questions is finding a happy medium between being in a zone broad enough to need more than one source to tell a story, but not so broad that you cannot focus your narrative. And that is it for this topic on research and narrowing topics in history. From all of us at Academic Support, thanks for watching.